August. The slate is wiped clean. Welcome, everyone, to today's Explainer. Now, if you follow German football, you know that while other leagues might try to ease their way into a new season, treating August like some kind of extended preseason, the Bundesliga absolutely does not do that. Today, we're breaking down the sheer unpredictability, the avalanche of goals, and the intense drama of German football's return. We're going to look closely at the anatomy of opening day chaos and figure out exactly why this league erupts from the very first whistle.
15 seconds, that is literally all it took for Bayern Munich's Luis Diaz to score the fastest goal of the season against Eintracht Frankfurt on opening day. 15 seconds. I mean, before half the stadium had even found their seats or grabbed a pretzel, the ball was in the back of the net. Talk about setting a ruthless tone for the entire campaign.
So it really begs the central question for our explainer today. Why does the Bundesliga erupt instead of, just building up slowly? What are the actual ingredients that cause this league to completely bypass a cautious start and launch straight into full speed, full contact, and full drama on match day one? Well, let's break it down into 4 key pillars.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Pillar number 1, the fastest start in Europe.
In Germany, the tactical philosophy across the board demands maximum intensity right out of the gate. Speed, power, precision. And these aren't just empty buzzwords for a whiteboard. They are the absolute baseline requirements from match day 1. Think back to August 2019. A young Erling Haaland arrives at Borussia Dortmund, and in a 5-1 demolition of Augsburg, he steps onto the pitch and just looks completely unstoppable. Opening day here doesn't just kick off the season, it acts as a launch pad that literally creates legends on day 1.
When you compare the tactical setups, the contrast is just stark. While other European leagues might lean towards cautious, slower buildups in August as players try to find their match fitness, the Bundesliga simply demands high defensive lines, aggressive pressing, and absolutely fearless attacking. It instantly creates this chaotic, high-energy environment where teams are just constantly trading blows.
The results of those tactics honestly speak for themselves. We are definitely not talking about tight 1-0 tactical chess matches here. We're talking about an 8-0 demolition of Schalke, a 6-0 battering of RB Leipzig, a relentless end-to-end 4-2 thriller between Gladbach and Hoffenheim. It proves that opening day is just a relentless onslaught of pure entertainment.
Which brings us to pillar number 2, champions making ruthless statements. The heavyweights of the league don't use the opening weekend to warm up. They use it to terrify the rest of the table. And when we talk about giants, obviously we have to talk about Bayern Munich. 14. That staggering number represents Bayern's 14-year unbeaten record on opening day. For well over a decade, the champions have stepped onto the pitch in August and absolutely refused to drop a single match.
It builds this incredibly intimidating legacy. In that 8-0 win over Schalke, Serge Gnabry scored a hat-trick and Leroy Sané had an absolute dream debut. Or take the 6-0 win over Leipzig, where Harry Kane bagged a perfect hat-trick. We've seen Robert Lewandowski maintain an absurd 10-game opening day scoring streak against Schalke, and a 17-year-old Jamal Musiala becoming Bayern's youngest ever scorer. Opening day is essentially where they crush hope for everyone else.
Leroy Sané really hit the nail on the head right after that 8-0 win against Schalke in 2020. They had just won the treble less than a month prior. They had literally every excuse to be tired or, a bit complacent, but instead, they came out starving for more. But hey, it's not all one-way traffic. Let's look at pillar number 3, shocking upsets by fearless underdogs.
For all that dominance at the top, early season unpredictability makes it a prime hunting ground for the underdogs. Picture this timeline from a recent clash between St. Pauli and Borussia Dortmund. Dortmund takes control early on. By the 75th minute, they've extended their lead to 3-1. Looks like a totally routine victory for the Giant, right? Well, an 80th minute red card completely flips the script, and by the 85th minute, St. Pauli fights back to equalize 3-3 with an absolute rocket from their captain. It is real-time, chaotic storytelling.
Because the truth is, even the very best stumble in August. Back in 2019, Bayern Munich hosted Hertha Berlin, and despite Robert Lewandowski scoring twice, Hertha simply refused to break, holding the mighty Bayern to a 2-2 draw. It served as a stark warning to the entire league that absolutely no one is safe on match day 1.
It's honestly fascinating how highly anticipated managerial eras can just instantly unravel against determined underdogs. Take Bayer Leverkusen bringing in Erik ten Hag. Massive summer hype. They even scored early through Jarell Kwanzaa. The expectation across the board was a dominant win. But the reality? Hoffenheim struck back, pulled off a shocking 2-1 upset, and completely ruined the debut.
And those early season shocks? They just keep coming.
We've seen newly promoted Fortuna Düsseldorf go away to Werder Bremen and comfortably win 3-1. We've seen Union Berlin debutant Ilias Anza set a club record by scoring twice to beat Stuttgart 2-1. That tactical openness we talked about earlier, it gives these underdogs the exact space they need to pull off miracles.
All right, on to our fourth and final pillar, derbies and fan protests.
To truly understand this league, we have to move off the pitch and talk about the fierce, boiling fan culture. Specifically, a concept often referred to as the football class struggle. This is a term used to describe the very real cultural and historical divide between traditional football clubs, the ones who pride themselves on member ownership, and their rivals. It highlights deep, ideological differences in how clubs are funded, structured, and operated.
Union Berlin president Dirk Zingler actually used that exact phrase, football class struggle, when describing their intense rivalry with Hertha BSC. When Union Berlin was promoted to the top flight back in 2019, Hertha wanted to play the derby on November 9th to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the fall of the Berlin Wall. Zingler completely refused. He didn't want a friendly, celebratory vibe. He wanted to maintain the raw, competitive edge of the derby.
The historical arc of this derby is just wild. Back in January 1990, right after the wall fell, the two teams played a friendly at the Olympiastadion with fans literally singing songs of reunification together. Fast forward to November 2019, their first top-flight meeting, the match actually had to be temporarily suspended by the referee because fireworks were being fired into the stands and onto the pitch. The passion is quite literally explosive.
And this friction isn't just geographical, it's highly structural. Hoffenheim fans once flew a beautifully sarcastic banner directed at RB Leipzig that read, "We want our throne back, Germany's most hated club." It perfectly captures the fierce, immediate backlash from traditional fan bases against clubs with heavy corporate backing.
These ideological battles play out in wild ways right from the start of the season. You've got Borussia Dortmund fans entirely boycotting their away game at RB Leipzig, choosing to stay home and listen on the radio while watching their youth team instead. You've seen Dynamo Dresden supporters throw a severed bull's head onto the pitch in protest. And that's not even touching on the incredibly intense, deeply personal atmosphere of the Ruhr Valley Derby. The drama in the stands is honestly every bit as chaotic as the action on the grass.
So, what's the big takeaway here? Let's look at the true anatomy of this chaos. When we ask why opening day in Germany is so uniquely wild, the answer is that it's basically the perfect storm. It's the combination of four things. First, tactical speed and high defensive lines guaranteeing end-to-end action. Second, giants like Bayern Munich making ruthless statements. Third, fearless underdogs stepping up to ruin highly anticipated debuts. And fourth, an intense, boiling fan culture that brings historical protests straight to the terraces from minute one. You mix all that together, and the season simply has to erupt.
And that is a wrap for today's Explainer. We've seen 15-second goals, perfect hat tricks, massive upsets, and wild fan protests. The true beauty of this league is that you never genuinely know what's going to happen when the whistle blows in August. So I'll leave you with this. What is your all-time favorite Bundesliga opening day moment? Let us know, keep exploring the beautiful chaos of German football, and we will see you in the next Explainer.